Numbers 15 and 16, the Israelites were realizing that maybe the promised land would be better than the wilderness, but they are moving on presumption rather than faith. Presumption can get us in a whole lot of trouble. I remember getting caught up in the word of faith movement many years ago and presumed that God was going to make my car payment and I didn't have to mess with it anymore. Well, yes, they came and repossessed my car. We need to diligently seek for God's will and not be presumptuous. God instructs the generation that will enter the promised land in sacrifices when they get there. It's as if they are already there in God's mind. God's blessing can be delayed, but his purpose cannot be destroyed. Every purpose of God will be realized and fulfilled. Do you want to be encouraged? Go read the last couple of chapters in Revelation. That's all absolutely going to happen. Notice that God is still instructing his people in the wilderness. How is it with you today? Do you go to church on Sunday and focus on Christ and his word and then join in the idolatry of the world's wilderness the rest of the week? He wants to go with you and instruct you and use you in the wilderness. He wants to be as real and influential in your life Monday through Saturday as he is on Sunday. Here we have the rebellion of Korah, who is a prominent Levite. He accuses Moses and Aaron of exalting themselves too much over the assembly. He blames them that they are stuck out in the wilderness. Truth be known, if they had listened and trusted God, they would be in the promised land. Here we have a classic example of those who really haven't done what they needed to do personally with the Lord, and they find themselves in a jam. They then begin to blame the leadership. We can become shipwrecked in our faith because we believed what some TV evangelist said. We cry, he said, if I would do this, God would do that. Then when God doesn't do that, we get mad at God. Leadership should be pointing people to their own relationship and fellowship with Christ. Do you take responsibility for your own relationship and fellowship with Jesus? Moses brought it all to the Lord for him to deal with. What a great idea, and something we should do as well. God destroyed Korah and all those following him. Moses interceded for those God was judging and actually halted his judgment. The man they rebelled against is the very man who saved them. Reminds us of Christ, huh? The very one whom the human family crucified is the one who saves us. Mark 6, 1 through 29. Familiarity breeds contempt. People in Jesus' hometown had a real hard time accepting who he really was, in spite of the truth, power, and wisdom and authority that he exhibited. Because they had watched him grow up and knew his family, they questioned his claims. We experienced the same thing. Relatives and friends that have watched us make all kinds of stupid choices down through the years have a hard time receiving from us, even if it is the truth of God coming from us. There are loved ones and acquaintances that will never hear the truth from me. So I pray that God would send laborers across their paths that they will listen to. Jesus sent out his disciples in pairs to preach repentance, giving them authority to cast out demons and heal the sick, to confirm their message. They were to seek for people who would take them in and provide for them. For those who rejected them, they were to shake the dust off their feet and move on, not getting bogged down by the rejection. Resist getting discouraged. Resistance is going to come. Move on. Lord, help us to do this. John the Baptist fulfilled what God had called him to do in preaching repentance and announcing the coming of the Messiah. He was uncompromised in his calling and even challenged the immoral relationship between Herod and his brother's wife. The Lord decided it was time to bring John the Baptist home.